This one's from Ian. Good evening, guys. Love the channel and all you do. My wife and I are expecting our first. Can't
Congrats.
wait to play Space Kids in DOSBox with a little one in my lap, just like my dad did with me. What gaming memories do you have and want to share or recreate with your own kids?
You know what? I actually went through this pretty recently. There's this, I think it's called PCM. It's a PC emulator, and it allows you to actually emulate like a Windows 95, Windows 98,
It's pretty
older
good.
era CPU on a modern computer. And it's one of the only ways to play old, like point and click adventure games from that time. And one of the games that my kids actually had a blast playing is called Mixed Up Mother Goose. And game experiences like that simply do not exist anymore. I think they're just kind of considered too low-fi for today. And it was really cool seeing them play and enjoy the exact games that I was playing back in like 1990, 3 or whatever, back when that came out. There's actually a lot of those kinds of games. That was how at least two of my siblings learned to read, was these interactive computer like books. The George Shrinks was one of the ones that we had, and there's a paper copy of it, obviously, but we also had the digital one that would read it to you, and you could kind of interact with the illustrations on the pages. Um, yeah, I think that's one that I was able to successfully share and recreate. But I think that, in line with what we were talking about earlier on the show, that may not be an option for kids that are growing up today. Their gaming experiences might be not irretrievable.
Yeah, I mean, what gaming memories do you have? Something that I really deeply enjoyed was Morrowind. I talked about Morrowind a lot, I know. Morrowind was a game
I'll
that
let you marry it.
my dad and I played a lot. No one else like my brother didn't really care. He wasn't that into it, but my dad and I played a bunch. And I've told the story before about how I didn't realize that I had never actually started the main quest until we had never bought a player's guide before. But the internet was in its infancy still a
Players
little
guides
bit,
were expensive, man.
and they were
I
expensive.
never bought one.
And it's still the only game I've ever bought one for. I don't know what really compelled us to do it, but at one point we were just like, there's clearly a lot to this game. We're clearly missing a ton. Let's check out a player's guide. And we did, and we got one, and then immediately figured out that there was a main quest, and we just had no idea it existed because you could sell the item that started the main quest. So I just sell it every time. I don't need this thing. Um, and that turned into my dad and I like playing Morrowind co-op style, where one of us would be piloting the character, and we'd trade back and forth all the time. It wasn't like just me all the time or anything. One of us would be piloting the character, and the other one would be reading from the player's guide and figuring out like what should we go do next. And the player's guide was written in a really, really cool way. It was genuinely really well written, where they would keep spoilers out of things and they would keep context and information at the end of what they were talking about. And they communicated that to you at the beginning of the player's guide. So they made it very clear that like there's gonna if you're looking at like you can use it in a way that if you see some cave or if you read through the player's guide and it's like, oh, there's a cave here and you didn't know that was there or something, you could use it to get you there, and then you could explore it on your own, and then you could check with the player's guide to make sure you got everything. So it tried to make it so that you were still exploring the world on your own, but you could use the player's guide to make sure that you weren't missing entire whole experiences like the whole main quest. And my dad and I playing Morrowind is probably one of, if not genuinely, my favorite memory of gaming. But I'm not going to share that. If I had a child, I'm not going to share that with my child. It's not going to be the same way. So I don't know. I have no idea.